Welcome to PUC Online Classroom. Today we're going to continue our lesson, which is lesson B. I'm really sorry. Okay, so I also attached the listening so that you can just listen and also go back to the first lesson, which is on Monday. All right, so you can just listen along. Okay, so let's take a look at this part altogether. The first activity, which is about interactions, apologizing. Okay, so I already explained the word apologize, right? It's just like to say sorry. And well, let's have a little discussion with the first question. Is it difficult for you to say you're sorry? Can you remember the last thing you apologized for? I don't know. To me, if I make mistake, then it's okay for me to just to say sorry. All right, and even though I don't make any mistakes, and if somebody asks me to, or maybe I volunteer to make mistake for some kind of reason, so even though I don't make any mistakes, but I volunteer to say sorry, that is good because I am very honest to myself. I don't cheat myself. All right, just I feel like okay, if no one takes that responsibility, maybe me. Okay, all right, and you might do the same thing as me, right? I don't know. Okay, but it's not really hard to say sorry whenever you make mistake. All right. Okay, so in this activity, you have to listen to the conversation between Suzanne and Gina. All right. They are talking about probably related to apologizing. Okay, so that you just take a listen. And in part C, everybody, I want you to take a look at the conversation, or maybe you can listen to the conversation and find the similar expressions regarding to apologizing and accepting an apology. It means you have to find an expression that means that means apologizing and accepting an apology from the conversation. All right, okay. And in part D, everybody, right here you have to number sentences from 1 to 7. Okay, so you can imagine what should be the first, what should be the last. Okay, right. So write down number 1 to number 7. Okay, and I will check your answer on Friday. Don't worry about this. Okay. All right. So let's move on to another listening activity. Number 2. What happened? So right here we have 4 pictures. So your job is to listen and find out the first order. What is the first one, the second, the third, and the fourth? And so you're going to listen to the 4 people. All right, they apologize over the phone for missing some kind of these events. I don't know exactly, so just listen and order the events. All right, and after you finish part A, please go to part B. You can listen again, or if you remember, that's okay. But if you don't, you can listen once again and complete the excuses with the correct information. All right, so there are 4 items, so it means there are 4 pictures right here. So you need to listen and find out the correct information, or maybe you can listen and fill in right here. Okay, so we will check later, don't worry about that as well. And number 3, of course I cannot go because it's about speaking, so I decided to ignore that. So now let's go to lesson C. That can be the problem. Okay, so the first activity in this lesson is about vocab and separable phrasal verbs. You might understand the word inseparable means you cannot separate, right? And the phrasal verbs that cannot be separate. Okay, so in order to understand what's separate, what is inseparate, okay, so let's go to the handout together. Okay, and later I will go back to this part. So now let's go to the handout. So in this case, we call phrasal verb, or another word you can say two-part verbs or two-word verb. Doesn't matter. Okay, it's just a matter of words. So right here, you can say two-part verbs, or you can say phrasal verbs. Okay, it doesn't matter right here. But When you talk about phrasal verbs, usually you focus on, look at this, number one, separable. Okay, or you can say separable. It means that phrasal verb that can be separated. And another one is inseparable. This is our lesson today, but I also need to explain what separable phrasal verb is. Okay, so before we go to inseparable or separable, let's understand a little bit about what it is exactly. Two-part verbs, or you can say phrasal verb, are formed by adding particles. Particle can be away, up, down, out, off, after, in, and so on and so forth to the verbs. So when we add particles or all of this into the verb, it considered to be phrasal verb because it has different meaning. Okay, here are two types of two-part verbs. The first one is separable. I already explained, show you a couple minutes ago, and we also have another one which is inseparable phrasal verb. Okay, so let's go through the separable. Why it's separable? Okay, two-part verbs take an object. What is it? Okay, let's go on. When the object is a noun, it can go after or before the particle. Okay, so what is it, a noun? Of course it's a noun, right? But let's take a look at the form here. So we have verb, object, that is a noun right here, and a particle, because we can separate the verb and the particle. Or you can say verb, particle, and object. So when it is separable, everybody, phrasal verb, you can write in two different ways. You can write the object or the noun in between, or you can write at the end. For example, I throw away the trash. All right, or you can say I'll throw the trash away. Okay, so it's either way. You can use this one, the trash, which is a noun, the object, that is form, the second form right here, so we use the object at the end, but right here we use the trash in between. Okay, so that's what we call separable phrasal verb. Another one, take off your shoes, or you can say take your shoes off. Okay, so you can write either way, but let's take a look at this. When the object is a pronoun, all right, so it's not about shoes, it's not about trash. Okay, but it's about pronoun like it or them, me, him, let's say object pronouns. It can only go before. Okay, only before, everybody, do not go after. If it is a noun, we can go after or go before for separable, but for that noun or that object, okay, if we don't write as a noun, as an object, but we write as a pronoun, then we can only try with before the particle, not after it. For example, I stroll, I'll throw it away. All right, you cannot say I'll throw away it because it is a pronoun. Okay, object pronoun. So even though it here refers to the trash, okay, it doesn't mean that we can use like this because this is an object or the noun, but this is not, it is a pronoun. So because trash means it right here, so that you cannot write another way, you have to use in between, just like throw it away. Okay, take them off, as you cannot say take off them, it is impossible. All right, okay, so let's move on, and these are phrasal verbs that can be separate. Okay, that can be separated, and you can remember all of this, everybody. When it comes to phrasal verb, it's pretty hard for us to learn. The only way is just to remember as many as you can. All right, okay, so let me move to inseparable phrasal verb. This is the second type. These two-part verbs take an object, but we can separate the verb from the particle. Okay, it means that we cannot separate at all. Okay, so what it is exactly? Inseparable two-part verbs, you can say verb plus particle plus an object. Okay, only one form, but separable we have two forms, so you can go back to that lesson. Don't worry, I will touch this handout with you, and so that you can read more. Okay, for example, right here, Tita takes after her mother, not Tita takes her mother after, because take after is inseparable phrasal verb, and then you cannot separate it. Okay, and you can say you can say instead of her mother, you can say Tita takes after her mother, or maybe take after her. Okay, her here means her mother. Okay, so we can use object or maybe pronoun at the end. Okay, it doesn't matter right here for inseparable phrasal verb. So the only problem that we have, we cannot put in between. Okay, looking after a baby is hard work, but you cannot say looking a baby after, or looking him after, or looking her after. Of course not, you cannot say that, but you can say looking after him or looking after her is hard work. Okay, once again everybody, inseparable phrasal verb, you cannot separate these two. You have to keep the object or the pronoun at the end. Okay, so here are examples of the two part verbs and the inseparable ones. So try to remember as many as you can right here. Okay, came across, you cannot say, oh, I come across, no, I come, my friend across, but you cannot say that. You have to say, I come across my friend, or I come across him. Okay, so that is the only way that you can do with inseparable. However, separable, of course, we can say either way, but when it is a pronoun, so that you can use only in between. You cannot use like throw away it. All right, you cannot use this form whenever the object is a pronoun. And when the object is a noun like this, like the trash, your shoes, of course you can use either way. You can use in between or at the end. All right, for inseparable, once again, we can only use at the end of the verb and the particle, so we cannot use in between. That's what we call inseparable phrasal verb. Okay, and I touched the exercise. It's not about one, but it's just one practice regarding to phrasal verb right here. It can be separate and inseparate, so please take a look at this and do it with your own time. Okay, and I will give you the answers later. So right now, let's go back to our lesson. So right here, inseparable phrasal verb, of course we cannot break it down. Okay, and break it down, we cannot put in the middle of that, so you have to use at the end of the phrasal verb. Okay, so this one I want you to try first to match, and later you can listen to check your answers. All right, and for the last activity for this session is about conversation. You also need to listen between Ryan and Katie, so just listen to the two and find out what's going on right there, okay, in the conversation. And in part B, you can answer to the question, or listen one more time, or continue listening and answer to the question, what was the real problem with Evan. Okay, so just listen and find out the answer about this conversation. So if you have any questions, everybody, please leave your question in the comment below, or you can go to our Telegram group chat. Okay, I think that's it for today. If you have questions, don't forget to follow what I said earlier. So I have to say goodbye right now. Thanks so much everybody for your attention and your participation. Goodbye.